Flexibility is one of the key words. We learned that during the pandemic, did we not? To be flexible. So what I was saying is that we heard from Helen about some of the research that she did with parents and their willingness to be involved, their eagerness to be involved. Yes, at times intimidated by larger systems and so on, but having much to contribute. And then we had and their advocacy. They're willing to be people for the care of Caden. Related to then now our kind of third set of speakers. Some years ago at the Crescent Cove Gala, Danelle Shue came over to me as our son Levi was beginning to slide toward the end of his life and said, "Ted, would you help me with the team?" When she said team, I thought she was talking about the family circle. She had shared some of the details of Levi's health at that time and the threshold that was becoming a bit more imminent. But rather she was talking about the kinds of people that we're going to hear now. The team in this case in Levi's life, as you heard also in Caden's life, includes occupational therapists, educational educators, PTs, on and on and on, all of the people that may need to surround us, including family and neighbors and so on. And so as we planned, especially for this morning section, to hear a number of different voices, we wanted to hear differing voices, but also to listen for overlap, and I've already heard a lot of overlap. And so we've got three of our colleagues coming in who do what we might call complementary complementary therapy. And there are many versions of that. We just simply have two specific examples that we're going to be sharing today, but there are lots of ways in which people draw out some of the strengths and capabilities, not only of the children, but of the families, and even of the clinical staff, the board, the volunteers, because they can begin to elicit some of the strengths and capabilities of all the people involved. And so let's see. Oh, we've already got it. Here's our first speaker. It's already up. Thank you for doing that. Jacob is one of the key music therapists at Crescent Cove, and he's going to begin to talk about the way in which he uses music as a part of his work. Then Erika Wells, who happens to be the sibling of Caden, and also a nurse at Crescent Cove, is going to talk about the intersection between being a nurse and also being a musician who sometimes works with Jacob and surprises some of the patients and others because she moves off, takes off, if you will, really doesn't take it off. It stays on all the time, takes off her nursing hat and suddenly becomes a musician. And then Maddie O'Reilly is going to share some of the work that she's done at Crescent Cove and other places in terms of occupational therapies and some of the kinds of things that she does that can complement what you've just heard from Helen and Lori and Jeff. So Jacob, take it away.
All right, we're going to start with a song, and I'm going to ask all of you to contribute. Hello, hello, it's time for music. Hello, hello, it's time for music. Hello, hello, it's time for music. It's time for music today. We're gonna wave hello, we wave hello and wave hello. Nice job. Hello and wave hello, we say hello. It's time for music today. All right, we're gonna clap our hands. We go clap, clap, nice. Clap our hands and clap our hands. We go. It's time for music today. All right, let's see. We're gonna stomp our feet. We go. Nice. Stomp our feet again. And stomp our feet. We go. Stomp, stomp. It's time for music today. Okay, I need an idea from the crowd of what else we could do. Yeah. Wow, love it. Go ahead.
Snap our fingers.
Snap our fingers. Here we go. We're gonna snap our fingers and snap our fingers snap our fingers. It's time for music today. All right, and how about we take a deep breath and go. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. It's time for music today. Okay, let me just bring this up. Thank you. All right, yeah, so as Ted mentioned, my name is Jake Uban. I'm a music therapist here in the Twin Cities with Alliance Music Therapy. And through our partnership with Crescent Cove, I have been very fortunate to serve as the primary music therapist for almost 5 years now. So yeah, very lucky there. Oh, kind of went through that. All right. So I wanted to start with this hello song for a number of reasons, one of which is that I start with this or some form of hello activity with almost every child I see at Crescent Cove. There's a number of reasons for this, which we'll get into, but when thinking about today's theme of joy, creativity, challenges, and capabilities, I think this really serves as a nice entry point into looking at the work I do and how it relates to today's theme. So, with Alliance, I've had the opportunity to work with a pretty wide range of populations in different settings, ranging from in-home with kids and teens with a variety of disabilities, in group home settings for adults with mental health disorders, older adults in various care facilities. But I think one of the biggest differences about how I approach the work I do at Crescent Cove is just in the terms of the goals and the approach that I take at the home with the kids. And if we look at these goal areas from this idea of kind of the spectrum of care that me and some of my colleagues have come up with and like to use, we look at the goals from kind of the rehab side of the spectrum all the way to the palliative. And I think when it comes to the work that I do in a lot of other settings, we tend to look more at that rehab side of things. So this could be improving speech and communication through singing, maybe working on physical goals, range of motion or fine motor control through instrument playing. But at Crescent Cove and pediatric palliative settings in general, the focus is much more, of course, on this palliative side of the spectrum. So this might be improving mood or decreasing pain through using music as a distraction, or improving relaxation through music and things like that. So I think with Crescent Cove in particular, with its mission of making moments count, and really in line with a lot of what other folks have already said today, one of the things that I really strive to do is use music to create a safe, comfortable environment through which these kiddos can interact with and experience their world in a way that makes sense to them, and really set themselves up for success to engage in moments of joy and create just, some of these really great memories. So I think because what joy and engagement looks like is just very different from person to person, I think that's where music is just really an effective tool, because it is this multimodal, multi-sensory medium that allows us to engage in a lot of different ways. Just as you think of music, there's so many ways that you can use music and engage with it, whether that's singing a song or listening to music, getting up and dancing, playing an instrument, talking about music, writing a song. All of these are different ways that we can use music to engage. And so because of that, it really is a way to engage, even if there might be some limitations in certain areas. And so one of the most common questions I think me and all music therapists and a lot of folks in general just get asked is, what does that look like? So what does music therapy mean? And what does a session maybe involve? And I think part of that really depends, because it's based on the individual, and it requires just a lot of collaboration with the team and a good deal of creativity on my part, and how to use music in different ways to elicit different responses and really just highlight the differences and celebrate those between the different kids that I see. So there are a lot of factors to consider in that I connect with the team before going into a session with a child. One of these being music preferences, of course. It makes sense that if a kiddo wants to listen to Justin Bieber and I go in, playing some kid songs or Disney, there's probably not going to be a lot of engagement there. So I like to honor that, and that's one of the questions that the team is careful to ask all families that come who are interested in participating in music therapy. Of course, cultural beliefs and spiritual values, that's taken into account for, and how music might play a role in these belief systems. And I think the most important way that I engage with the team, though, is just asking, how are we doing today? How is a kid feeling? How was sleep last night? Did we have any meds that might affect how we're feeling? Are we in a lot of pain? Did we eat lunch yet? These kinds of things will really affect just how any given session might flow. And so, that's one part of the equation before even going into a session. And then tying back into this hello song, what might have seemed just kind of as this lighthearted, fun song, which it was, I hope, really is a nice tool for me to just gauge where a kid might be at in the moment. When you think about the directives that we did, we started with waving hello. And I saw from a good chunk of you that we're physically capable of moving our hand back and forth, that we're at least communication-wise able to understand what I'm saying in a place socially, that you're understanding the cues of me saying, let's move along with me, emotionally at a place where you're willing to do so. And through that hello song, I adapt the various directives just to see what different capabilities are and what we're willing to do in the moment. So with all of that, that determines how the flow of the session might go for the rest of the time that I have with a particular child. So this can look very different, like I said before. It might be, rocking out to the top 10 Disney princess songs for 45 minutes. It could be just playing the same song, for 45 minutes, or banging on a drum. But a lot of the times it might just be to help a child, get some sleep, playing quiet music. And it's kind of funny to hear a little bit more about Caden, because I have a video of him here in which he's literally feeling the music, and that's what's right in the moment. So just help facilitate that, and yeah, we'll take a look.
Then all the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, hi, you'll go down in history.
So a quick video there, but yeah, just an example. And I'll say, as Lori and Jeff mentioned, there are times where maybe we didn't like something that I introduced, and it was very clear that that's not the way that we wanted to do it. So, but yeah, in this particular instance, this is what you seem to engage with, so I adapted the session and rolled with it. So yeah, okay. Touching a bit on, again, this symposium's themes of challenges and capabilities, I think from a clinician's point of view, one of the biggest things, and again, it's already been touched on quite a bit today, is just being mindful of filtering kind of the ableist lens that a lot of us inherently and just naturally have because of different experiences that we have in life. And what this means is just not holding unreasonable expectations on a lot of these children and young adults. I think when it comes to things like music therapy and a lot of other experiences, it's our natural instinct to want to see obvious ways of engagement or examples of joy and that kind of thing. But in a lot of cases, it's just really unreasonable and unrealistic and really unfair just to expect to see some of these responses that might be familiar to us. So in a lot of ways it could, this might just mean opening your eyes and for 10 seconds. Or it might mean a child staying in the room for more than 30 seconds. These are small victories, kind of like Lori and Jeff mentioned, and those are meant to be celebrated. I think music is a nice way to create this kind of understanding through connection. And there is just, I think, a beauty in just being, yourself, and being allowed to do that and to have that celebrated. And that's just something I really try to cultivate in my sessions through the music that we use and through the responses in my reaction to that. So, yeah, another challenge, of course, is just, my contribution in end-of-life sessions. It is something that I am honored to have the opportunity to take part in occasionally, and this certainly comes with its challenges, but I think music is capable, talking about these capabilities, we're able to use music to contribute to memory making, to help with the processing of grief, and it's just a meaningful way to hold space and process emotions. And even though there might be challenge in loss, I think with music, we can help focus on the celebration of life and find moments of joy in that. So one of the ways that we do this, and I don't want to talk too much about this because Maddie's going to be doing more of it a little bit later, is just with our heartbeat projects. And with this is where we take a recording of a heartbeat and we pair it with a meaningful song. And this is just a nice representative of, again, the celebration of that life, what that heartbeat represents. So here's a quick example of one of these. Okay. No worries. Oops. Hey, where did we go? Days when the rains came down in the hollow, playing the new game, laughing and running, hey, skipping and jumping in the misty morning fog with our hearts a thumping, and you, blue-eyed girl, you're my blue-eyed girl. Do you remember when we used to sing sha la 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 ti da? Okay, there we go. So yeah, again, I don't want to speak too much about this legacy work, but that's just one of the ways that we, as music therapists, might help in some of these end-of-life situations. I spoke with the mother of the patient that whose project this is, and she was just she said it's a very personal thing to share, but she was happy to do so, and just happy with the idea that her child's life can continue to impact the lives of so many, and so she was happy to have that shared today. In conclusion, I'm just really grateful to have the opportunity to continue working with such amazing families and staff at Crescent Cove. Lucky to have the chance to connect with the clients and use music to help them experience the beauty of being. And then, honored to be part of the hospice journey despite its challenges, and just by using music to hold space for grief and loss, but also to create moments of joy and remembrance. And just looking forward to continue using music therapy and using music creatively to make moments count. So thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name's Erika Wells. There's been some mention of me so far, which I didn't appreciate, Catherine, but it's fine. I've been a nurse at Crescent Cove for almost 4 years now, and prior to this, I worked for Pediatric Home Service. I see a few of you at that table back there. As a home care nurse working in the homes of patients similar to the population that we work with at Crescent Cove. So I think it's safe to say I've found the population that I'm passionate about and love working with. But my introduction to this population started 14 years ago when my little brother Caden was born. Those were my parents that spoke, and Caden is my baby brother. I'm the oldest, and he's the youngest. So at the age of 17, I was given a front row seat to what it looks like in the home of a medically complex child. And it was actually those frequent trips to the hospital to visit Caden that heavily influenced my decision to become a nurse. Over the years, I've watched as my parents so beautifully have let Caden lead with his capabilities and have pushed the limits of what it looks like to stay curious, never keeping him in a box, but always looking for ways to challenge him and help him grow. I feel blessed to carry this unique perspective with me into my own nursing practice, and over the next few minutes, I just want to share stories with you guys. I think that stories are how we relate and then can relate things into whatever that looks like for us. I just want to share the nursing perspective, and I'm so proud to be a part of a team that really embodies what it looks like to stay curious about the kids that we work with and let them teach us and show us what they're capable of. I think it's what makes Crescent Cove Crescent Cove. So first I want to introduce you to Andrea. I can remember the very first time that I met her. Sorry, a couple more pictures, okay. There's Andrea. I can remember the very first time that I met her. I was still very much learning who she was, and I had set her on her stomach on the mat in the living room just to give her some tummy time and a chance to exercise. And I remember the moment she started just army crawling towards this light bubble machine that I had set up at the edge of the mat. And I looked at her and I said, Andrea, you're so sneaky. Nobody told me that you knew how to do that. And the smirk and the laugh that she let out when I celebrated that, like, yeah, I knew and I was keeping it from you, just was hilarious to me. And ever since then, it's become my greatest joy to celebrate this hidden fact about her. Like, I literally tell everyone that I meet, Andrea can army crawl and she can do these other things, and we just have to stay curious and see what she's capable of. So I'll say things like, hey, watch out, this girl's got secrets that she's keeping from us. And every single time she smirks and gives the side eye that you can see in that photo there. At Crescent Cove, we really strive, and we say this a lot, we strive to be an extension of the home, and we understand that our families and caretakers of our patients are our biggest resource when it comes to learning about each child. So we look to our caretakers first to provide us that foundation that we can build our own curiosity and development of what our kids are capable of doing. I've just been blown away by the countless things that I've learned from parents and caregivers about what makes their child unique. One of our patients, to find out if she's hungry, you'll ask her if she's hungry, and you'll hold your finger out in front of her mouth. And if she's hungry, she'll lean in and touch her mouth to your finger. And I'm just like, how did these parents figure that out? But it's that idea of curiosity and just staying open to how every child can communicate. Another child jumps up and down and says, Disney Castle, whenever she's happy. It's the best to watch. I remember one child was touring, and when I met him, he just was staring so intently at every single person in the room. And I said, wow, you're really taking this all in. And his grandma said, observing is one of his best skills. And that was actually one of those sentences that marked me in the way that I see the world and see our patients. These are just a few examples of what it looks like to enter into the world of each child. I've actually found myself more and more as time goes on looking for ways to celebrate what our kids can do, to frame what's in front of me as an accomplishment and recognize the effort. If a child knocks a toy off their wheelchair tray, I'll say, wow, you're so strong, instead of, oh, I'm so frustrated that I have to pick that toy up 100 times now, but just looking for the opportunity to celebrate. It took work for you to push that off of your wheelchair tray. Or if they're crying about something, you'll often find our team saying, thank you so much for telling me you needed something. I believe that everyone on our team does such a good job of communicating to our children that we see them, we hear them, and are working so hard to help them. I love that I have the opportunity every day to stay curious and let our patients lead the show. But curiosity doesn't just exist in the positive parts of each of these children's lives, curiosity also creates space for the heaviness that comes with things too. So I want to share a little bit about that both and topic. I want to introduce you to Mari. Some of you may know her. She is amazing, bright, artistic, and beautiful, and she has taught me so much in the time that I've known her. Just last week, she actually graduated from Crescent Cove, so when you turn 22, you graduate out of being able to come for respite services. And this picture is actually from her graduation party. I had the privilege of decorating her arm with temporary tattoos. But hopefully that picture just shows you a little bit about the kind of person that Mari is. And I want to show you some more pictures from a different day that we had together. This was a day that we were creating these extravagant flower crowns. We went all around Crescent Cove's property and we were picking different flowers, making these crowns just because we could. That was what she wanted to do that day. And we were in the middle of joy and fun, and I looked over to see tears streaming down her face. I have to admit, I was taken back and surprised, but I knew what I needed to do. I whisked her away to a private space on the patio, and I sat down in a chair, and she came close to me in her wheelchair. Our knees were almost touching, and I just gave her my hand to hold. Careful not to pry too hard, I told Mari, I'm willing to listen if you want to talk, but I'm also willing to be quiet if that's what you need. We sat in silence for several minutes as the quiet tears continued down her face. Nothing but the sound of leaves and a wind chime blowing in the background. When she was ready, Mari began explaining that seeing another respite child interact with his dad had actually stirred up some unresolved feelings that she had had towards her dad's recent passing. And we took the next few minutes walking through those emotions, and I just kept assuring her, I'm not scared of your big emotions. And she actually said, you're not scared, but I'm terrified. She wasn't ready to let some of that stuff out, but it was that silence that created the space that she needed for that. And in preparing for today, I actually asked Mari if she could type up something about that experience. And she said, all I wanted was just silence. I just wanted someone to sit with me and just be there. After a while, I was completely comfortable opening up. It wasn't difficult. Almost all the staff are easy to talk to about anything really, but Erika especially. I mostly remember myself doing most of the talking. It was nice not being interrupted. It was nice to actually be listened to and to see that they truly care. And I think that this story with Mari is just such a beautiful depiction of the coexistence of the beautiful and the heavy. As a nurse, I've learned a lot about the balance of creating space for both, the importance of staying curious for both ends of the spectrum, because if we swing too far to one side or the other, it's actually drawing away from the totality of a person's experience. In our fast-paced world, I think we can all benefit from the reminder to slow down, to listen, to stay humble, and to recognize that there's always more to learn and more to stay curious about. Last, I want to introduce you to my friend Lauren. I can remember the first day that I came on my shift to take care of Lauren, and the night nurse said to me, she's been so anxious, she's been throwing up all night. And I just remember the weight that I felt stepping into care for her because I didn't know how I was going to help her with her anxiety. But I watched over the years as time, attention, and curiosity led Lauren to become more and more trusting of us. She grew to have inside jokes with each of our staff. I feel like I had so many with her. I endearingly gave her the nickname Sturkin, which was her last name before her stepdad eventually adopted her. And I remember every time I tried to take a selfie with her, she would stare at me and not the camera. And I would say, Sturkin, you better look at the camera. We're trying to take a selfie. She would just laugh and roll her eyes at me. But then eventually she'd look at the camera. You can kind of see the development of things there. She'd be like, fine, I'll look at the camera. I can also remember how her family would bring this digital photo frame every time she came for respite. While they were on their trips, having fun as a family, they were uploading pictures for Lauren to see while she was also having her own vacation at Crescent Cove. And I remember whenever her younger brother Titus showed up on the screen, I would say, there's that Titus again. I wonder what trouble he's getting into. because as an older sister, I know what little brothers are capable of, and she would just roll her eyes and laugh at me every time because she understood. She also had an obsession with the state of Iowa because it was one of the words she could say. I'd come into her room bright and early, 7 o'clock in the morning, singing. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the song 50 Nifty United States. If you went to public school in 3rd grade, you probably learned it. But it's just been stuck in my mind forever. And I would come in her room singing this song right away, and I would just drag out Iowa as long as I could when we got to that. And I could sing the first little bit. 50 nifty United States from 13 original colonies. Actually, normally I start with Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, so on and so forth. Patty will sing it for you later if you want. But yeah, I just grew to love these little inside jokes that I had with Lauren and anticipate every time I got to see her. And then I remember June of this last summer getting an email that Lauren had passed away unexpectedly. It was shocking, unbelievable, and in my mind, never how it was supposed to be. I was faced with the hard reality of caring for this population of kids. Due to the nature of their health conditions, it's often difficult to predict how much time any child has on earth. And as a nurse caring for these kids, I've had to make the decision about how that's going to impact me as a person and my practice as a nurse. I could get cold, closed off, become bitter, and even put up walls when caring for these kids. But instead, the reality of their fragility has actually served to remind me of the value of every single moment that we have together. That every day, each minute is an opportunity to stay curious and make each moment count, to create memories, whether a child is receiving respite or end-of-life care. In a minute, Maddie's going to talk more about some of the ways that we incorporate memory making into our daily practices at Crescent Cove, but I wanted to do a little exercise with you guys. Just as I close, in front of you, you'll see a little tube of bubbles. Some of you have already enjoyed participating with these. But in a moment, I'm going to count to 3. So get them ready, get them open, ready to use. And when I count to 3, we're all going to blow bubbles together. I was going to try to do it, but I don't think I can handle both at the same time. So watch these guys if you don't know how to blow bubbles. Okay, I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, blow. Get as many going as you can. You guys are naturals. This is great. Yeah, so you can kind of look around, see that the room is filling up with bubbles. And what we're doing in this moment is we're actually creating a memory together. I love that the bubbles serve as this visual that things are temporary and fleeting, but what's going to last for each of us is the memory associated with this moment. You guys could stop if you want to. You don't have to keep going. So yeah, the bubbles are temporary and fleeting, but the memory attached to this moment is what can last for us. I invite you to take these bubbles home, and chances are when you see the tube, you'll think back to this moment and the memory that we created together. You may feel inspired to blow some bubbles again and then be instantly brought back to the feeling of being in this room, surrounded by these people, and having this experience. And I hope that that memory reminds you that each day we have the opportunity to create meaningful memories, make moments count, and stay curious. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maddie O'Reilly. Even closer? My goodness. My name is Maddie O'Reilly. I am an occupational therapist. I just finished my program in August, so I'm starting a job next week. So a little bit about me is I went to St. Kate's for both my undergrad and my grad school experience. I had the privilege of working as a nursing assistant at Crescent Cove, and I also got to complete my doctoral capstone work with Crescent Cove that I'll be talking about today. So for some of my clinical rotations, I was actually at an outpatient clinic up in Pine City. And this was with kids with disabilities, so it was like an outpatient peds focus clinic, but it was in the middle of nowhere, so we were a one little tiny room, one OT clinic. And then I also had the experience of working at the Minneapolis VA within the acute care team. I've also had the opportunity to work with children and adults with disabilities over the past 10 years. I worked as a summer camp counselor for True Friends, if anyone's heard of it. It's an amazing place. And then I also taught preschool before becoming an OT. So as you can see, this is a couple kids, or one kid from Crescent Cove, and then I had to throw my cats in there because I love them and they're very fun. You can go ahead. So to start, I was going to share a little bit of background about OT. Not everyone really knows what it is, and we usually get confused with PT. So I just wanted to start with how it's utilized to facilitate meaning activities, or occupations as we call them in OT. So activities of daily living such as bathing, instrumental activities of daily living such as meal prep, health management, play, leisure, education, work, social participation, sleep, and rest are all considered occupations, not just your job. Occupational therapy is a service for individuals of all ages, abilities, and needs, and this also includes palliative and hospice care. The focus of occupational therapy is to support individuals in the things that they want and need to do, through everyday activity and through a strength-based approach. Occupational therapists can be found in a wide variety of settings, including hospitals, outpatient clinics, in-home care, mental health, long-term care, early intervention, and in schools. In palliative and hospice care, OT generally focuses on the comfort and safety, while modifying various contexts to allow for participation in activities that are meaningful to a person. Therapists use interventions such as caregiver training, adaptive equipment, positioning, energy conservation for participation in said activities. Participation in those activities that are meaningful to an individual can help foster a sense of independence, dignity, and control for individuals in palliative care. Pediatric OT is a little bit different. Pediatric OT helps give children with a wide variety of conditions the ability to participate in activities of daily living and occupations. Occupational therapy for children can look like engaging in sensory-based interventions, play and social-emotional interventions, fine and gross motor activity, caregiver education, positioning, and adaptive equipment selection and training, among many, many other interventions. For children, play is considered the most important occupation for social-emotional well-being. For children in palliative care, play can understandably may not be the main focus during treatment. However, within a holistic care plan such as OT, services such as OT, music therapy, child life, art therapy, etc., can help support the creation of those meaningful moments that we've been discussing today, alongside the medical treatments and their needs. So the purpose of the creation of my capstone project was to support an occupation-based resource guide for staff to utilize when caring for children. When researching this project, I had found a huge gap of resources for pediatric hospice and palliative care that exists for all healthcare professions, but there was an increased gap that I had found for complementary services such as OT. This included my own personal experience with end-of-life coursework during my grad program. Much of the focus continued to be palliative care for adults, and is often focused on in my older adult courses, and the information was geared towards legacy work such as letters, recipes, and recordings that can be left for generations. And if you know our population, most of our kids are not making up their own recipes, and so that's not really the focus of pediatric legacy work. Through conversations with staff at Crescent Cove and literature searches for my project, the focus of my research shifted to what legacy work should look like for children of all ages and abilities. How could we as an organization continue to assist families to be able to create lasting pieces, but also tie in meaningful moments and memories for children and their families? So I created 2 sets of resources, including the occupational therapy-based end-of-life resource guide for staff and the memory-making guide for children and families. The occupational therapy-based end-of-life resource guide includes 6 topics to use as a reference for staff caring for children. The topics included are occupational therapy-based, obviously, and include positioning, communication, sensory considerations, activity and energy conservation, non-farm pain interventions, and social-emotional wellness. These topics were identified as a need during staff interviews at the start of my project. One aspect of this part of the project I would like to highlight is the communication section. While researching and discussing with staff, I had found the importance of communication and the use of child-friendly terms when working with children. It was presented that the typical term of legacy work used for adults may be intimidating for use with children. Using terms such as memory making rather than legacy work may feel more approachable to children and their families. In addition, using statements such as, would you like to create something for or with your family, or would you like to receive a blessing, rather than would you like to leave art for your family, or would you like to see a chaplain, may be beneficial for children to understand and be less intimidating when creating opportunities for expression. The second component of my project included a memory-making resource binder that will be given to families during the admission process. A copy of this binder can be seen on your tables in front of you. Please feel free to take turns looking through the offerings while I further explain this process. The binder will give the opportunity for families to visualize the options for tangible pieces and experiences that are available to them while at a stay at Crescent Cove. While this part of the project was originally created for use during end-of-life stays, it could also be used to facilitate conversation of what important memories children and their families would like to create. With the use of the photographs and descriptions, it gives a better understanding of what a particular experience or activity may look like and how it can be facilitated. This is important as many families come to Crescent Cove after hearing for years what the child cannot do or what they can no longer do. Crescent Cove has the ability to change many of these conversations of a cannot do into how can we help facilitate. In addition, access to the physical copies of the resources allows for families in an already stressful situation to take a moment to decide what is important for their child. This binder allows for families to discover opportunities that may not have been possible before, such as a spa bath or a boat ride, or feel comfortable asking for an additional handprint craft or a celebration of a holiday. So as Jake has already pointed out, we have a lot of different legacy work options, and the one that music therapy usually helps with is our heartbeat recordings, which can be seen up in the corner. This is actually also Kaden, and Erika's hand. I had a lot of support taking pictures for this project. Examples of some of the offerings that are seen on the screen include the different ways that we're able to facilitate opportunities for our children. This can include anything from holiday celebrations and birthday parties to handprint crafts and daily routines such as a bath. A favorite at Crescent Cove is getting to see pet therapy and music therapy provided by Jake. In addition, Crescent Cove can provide a space for a personal spiritual leader to visit or save a lock of hair during an end-of-life stay. Please feel free to continue to look through the resource of the current offerings and make a note what would be most meaningful to you. A major aspect of this project was to include the accessibility of materials so many children and their families would be able to fully see the breadth of offerings available while keeping literacy ability in mind. To ease the accessibility of the project, I had also created a companion guide to accompany the main memory-making resource for families. This companion guide has the same photos, but has limited words in a bold font for a wide variety of use of needs for anything from younger siblings or individuals who are just visual learners. This binder does not include descriptions seen in the main binder. I also created a menu of activities that can be seen on your table and on the slide. This menu allows for families to privately mark down which activities they would like to participate in and gives a visual walkthrough of the offerings to accompany the full binder. These can be used to facilitate a conversation of what is priority, ease communication, and allow for expression that may be difficult to communicate verbally. So now for everyone's favorite part, we get to talk to our neighbors. I'd like to give you all an opportunity to use the menu that we use at Crescent Cove. Please take a few minutes to look over the menus provided. Think of the offerings that may be meaningful to you or to a family member. Think of what you would prefer to participate in or would not be a priority for you. This activity can even be thought of from the perspective of keepsakes and memories you'd like to build with your own children as there are things that can be completed whether or not a child is on palliative care. Feel free to look through the resource binders and then feel comfortable, discuss with those at your table. And I'm gonna ask for a few people to share, so. All right, would anyone like to share with the big group? I know it's really scary. You want your family pets? That's a very big one. Yes, Tuesday.
Like being a mom, I don't get time to take pictures of him doing normal things because he's there and he's busy. And so like having the pictures of doing the heartbeat, having the pictures of him doing his handprints, not just the handprint itself, but actually seeing the moment and capturing that moment is just amazing.
I love that, Tuesday. That's so great. Tuesday was just saying that she would like to see the actual moment in a photograph. So when you're doing an art project, when you're doing a handprint, taking a photograph of the actual activity would be important to her. Anyone else? I can also share mine because. Rhonda was saying a lock of hair would be really special to her. I can share mine too. So I'm very picky on my music. So something I don't want is very specific country music. I think is really annoying. When we actually did our legacy work in school, we had someone come and talk to us and recommend making a playlist that you want, because sometimes nurses or therapists will put on music that you don't like, and you can't necessarily tell them you don't like it. Remember that, Jake. Yes, Katie? Katie was just saying that including like the parents was really important to someone at Crescent Cove, and she was able to write her child's handprint on, or her child's name on the handprint that they created for the child. And so like intertwining both like the parents and helping facilitate that is important. You want to click it? Yeah, we actually do take a lot of videos at Crescent Cove, whether it's like a child swinging is a really fun one because they usually laugh, and or listening to music. Anything that you can think of taking a video for, it would be possible. Yeah. She was just saying to include like a video for the parents, and including that on the list would be helpful. And then Katie brought up how we do send home all the videos and the pictures after a child has passed, just so they have access to all those. So finally, I just wanted to bring up the importance of memory-making activities, as they are an opportunity for important, meaningful participation, to give each child a space for expression, to serve as a distraction from pain, and give each child the opportunity to participate in what they choose to or what the parents choose for them. As we have seen from the stories Erika presented and the memories Jake spoke on, every caregiver, healthcare provider, family member, volunteer, or important person in a child's life can create memories during their time spent with the child. This is important to note as memory making exists within the realm of holding space for the both and, rather than focusing on what can no longer be done. Through memory making, we are able to understand that these activities that may just become a memory in the future, however, we are still able to be present during the time of the activity by putting the focus on what is important to the child and family. To accomplish this, memory making must be child and family led, as everyone will have different preference on what it may look like. Even within a family, the child, parents, siblings, and extended family may all have a different priority of what they personally connect with and find meaningful. To some, having a meaningful experience or continuing a routine that is kept at home is the utmost importance, when to others, creating a lasting memory piece would be their priority. Memories and activities can be either simple or elaborate. For example, listening to a favorite music or taking a spa bath might be the most remarkable experience for both the child and family. This is also seen through the bubble activity that we completed earlier. Something as small as blowing bubbles with a child can have a lasting impact on the memories we create. In closing, I would like to share a personal experience I had with memory making here at Crescent Cove. In the summer of 2022, I had the opportunity to first work with a little girl who was enrolled in hospice who had come to Crescent Cove for a respite stay. We did not know what the future would hold for her after her respite stay, so many of the nurses, CNAs, and other staff members got to spend the week holding her, creating projects such as an adorable teal framed footprint, and listening to classical Disney music while rocking in the recliner. These were all the things that were passed along through communication with her family as favorites, and we were happy to get all the snuggles in. Fast forward to nearly a year later to her next respite, we had the opportunity to again create meaningful keepsakes per request of her parents. We were able to create a thumbprint art project for a lasting memory. This was the first time I was actually able to see the use of the project and had her parent look through and fill out the very first menu of what she wanted created during her stay. While the parent expressed the usefulness of the binder and how nice it was to be able to verbalize what she wanted to create, the true importance of continually making memories was seen after the little girl passed away. As we are truly unable to know what time we have left with someone, it is important to tie in meaningful moments in memory making when we can. Thank you for watching my presentation.
Okay. You've had 3 sessions, differing voices, different speakers around our theme of the day. We're going to take a lunch break in just a moment. Then we'll come back and have one more parent speaker. And then all of our speakers are going to join us here at the front to both to talk to one another as well as to interact and have some Q&A time for you later in the day. So let you know that that's coming. So take a breath. We're going to move to lunch. It's self-service just over here, buffet. We've got about 45 minutes set aside for that, so enjoy conversations with one another, and you have some directions in the program of get acquainted. That's the first thing, and just enjoy your lunch. But if you choose to share with one another some of the things that have influenced you in terms of discovering some of your own strengths and capabilities, or people who elicited some joy in your life. Enjoy lunch. We'll see you in 45 minutes.